چه نگو چایل کەسلگۆ
2017
دیوم 5 سال نتون
5 خورده
دلی ما ویم istediyorsun. Ya hasbi istediyorsun. Ya trat. Ya ایگنون انرژی. یا ایگنون pengar.
داداش شده مثلا یه دختر خوشت بیام مثلا ازت بپرسه که کجا زندگی میکنی بگی کەسلگۆ
من لناوی جریان کلام کیشاین نه مثلا بعد اصرار کردن وطن بکیشم یا هم نیکیشم لی تایی حدود چیم الان نیوشم پام چشت زانم
و وقتی که وارد دانمارک شدم حس کردم واقعا دانمارک میتونه به من کمک کنه. این چی میگم؟
Welcome to In Focus. My name is Nour Ghantous, FairPlanet's associate editor, and I'm super excited to welcome Maria Colomer with us, the creative force behind The Painter's Room, which is a documentary that takes us inside a Danish deportation facility and shows us what life is like on the inside. Maria's work sheds light on issues of immigration and human rights through a personal story of two people stuck in limbo at the facility. Maria, it's so great to have you here. Thanks for making the time.
Thanks to you for having me here.
So let's start with the inspiration behind this documentary. Could you maybe walk us through the journey that led you to create The Painter's Room? What pivotal moments or stories compelled you to tell this story, and how did you first encounter the subject of the Danish deportation facility?
Yes, so I'm from Spain, but I lived in Denmark for 6 years, and I was part of a group called the Contact Network Group, that it's a group that tries to be or is in touch with a person in the deportation center, Kærshovedgård. It was a friend of mine who told me about it, and I decided I wanted to join. And when I joined, I met Nour, who was a Rohingya refugee who had been rejected his asylum case and was put in the deportation center, Kærshovedgård. After half a year of knowing Nour, he asked me in a very desperate moment if I could make a film about his story. The thing is that 1 week after saying this, he decided to escape illegally to the UK because he couldn't stand being more in Denmark after 8 years there. And after that story, I started thinking maybe I should make a film about Nour's escape to the UK illegally. But later on, I decided that Nour's story started in the deportation center, Kærshovedgård, and that no one had ever done a film inside a deportation center in Denmark. And that I thought it was important to explain the story of the people who live there.
Wow. And being inside the deportation center, being on site, documenting such a sensitive environment must have involved navigating some very complex dynamics. So how did the staff at the deportation facility respond to your presence and the film crew in the process? Were there moments of hostility, or was there openness to the dialogue?
There was a little bit of everything. In order to enter in Kærshovedgård, you need to know someone inside that you go to visit, and this person comes to pick you up at the entrance at the fence. So we had some people inside that we knew from our visits there who would come to pick us up. And first we were not allowed to record because no one is. And after some days, we asked for permission to the person in charge of this center that is under the prison system in Denmark. And we were guaranteed the opportunity to record there. But after days and days, when the guards could see that we were returning for many days, they started getting a bit nervous, some of the guards, and we were faced with hostility and also with a lot of difficulties to record. So they started saying where we couldn't record, like in the canteen, in the public areas, in the corridors, in the public spaces. So after the days were passing, we were facing more challenges to record. But the good luck is that we had the permission and we had recorded already certain things, so we could have the material we needed.
And when you faced these clashes, did you find that it influenced the narrative of the documentary or it changed the filming approach?
No, I wished when I was recording and I faced these clashes, it was very provocative to be there. And to once I was shouted by a guard who was threatening that we couldn't be able to record anymore. And at this moment, I really wanted to record this, and I really wanted to put a finger on what the reaction of the guards when they saw camera. But later on, I decided that that was not the story. The story was to show who is the people who lives in the deportation centers, and that I wanted the film to be a little bit soft, so all audiences could feel they could watch it. I didn't want to criticize too obviously, like the Danish system or something like this. So I wanted it to be able to be almost like friendly, but to everyone, so more people can watch it, because my main goal is that people can see who lives in deportation centers in Europe, that we can put a face to the people who lives there.
Of course, making a film that you want it to come across friendly, but there must have been a lot of emotions behind the camera. And did you find throughout the making of The Painter's Room that your own perspective on these themes of displacement and hope and resilience, did you find those perspectives evolving or new emotions coming up? And were there any specific encounters that challenged or deepened your understanding to these issues?
Yeah, definitely. During the process, a big part of it was I was mentioning to deal with anger and frustration once you start understanding the laws, and how sometimes laws don't make sense for a person, or at least for me they didn't, and for the film crew neither, for the characters. And you start getting quite angry at the law. So it's very hard, especially when you leave the center and you go back to your daily life, to our routines in Copenhagen, to talk with people who hadn't been in the center, who would kind of try to discuss with you or debate in regards to the law. And once you've been there and you've seen the consequences that it creates on human beings, it becomes emotional. And I think that was the biggest challenge, to try to remain calm and not too emotional, so I could have some perspective of explaining a good story and not getting lost in my own emotions. That was very hard when you are in a place such as Kærshovedgård and there is so much pain and sad stories.
Yeah, of course, it's like a pressure cooker. And
Yeah.
speaking of laws, what kind of social or policy changes are you hoping to catalyze with your documentary?
I think um, the documentary comes from the context that it's the first time someone makes a film inside a deportation center, and it goes a little bit opposite towards the way that the media has been portraying these places. Sometimes the media portrays it, the TV news starts with a helicopter shot. So you can already hear the sound of like a place that it's a bit scary when it's shot through a helicopter. And then when they get close to the shot, you see men that you can barely see their faces. And it looks like a place very, a bit scary when you see it through the media. And my hope was to show it in another way. And I don't think I can make any change in the law, but I think I can maybe make a change on the person who watches it, to have an impression of what is this place. So next time they hear about it in a debate, they can have a more informed, opinion about it.
So you mentioned that maybe there's no direct way you can influence policy, but you hope that you can engage with the viewers to contribute to the conversation. And what do you hope that your film contributes to the conversation around immigration and asylum policies?
I hope it contributes on removing fear a little bit from our conversation. There is a lot of fear in regards to the people who lives in Kærshovedgård. The neighbors are scared of them big part of Danish society is scared of them. All over Europe, I think we are scared of people who lives in deportation centers, and I hope I can remove a little bit of that fear when you get to know who these people are. And also, I hope to contribute in bringing a little bit more of humanity. So we remember that these people are humans with stories like we are, with families, with needs, with who are very similar. They want to do what we do. They want to work. They want to do very basic things that we do, and it's not as complex as sometimes our fear makes us think about it.
Is there a particular scene or narrative thread that you believe is central to understanding this core message for your documentary?
Yeah, I think the final scene, the documentary has two main characters: Artin, who's a young Kurdish Iranian bodybuilder, and Jahan, who's a Kurdish Iranian artist or painter. And the last scene, it's Artin explaining to Jahan how he feels in regards to being in Kærshovedgård, and he talks about how he felt in Iran and when the police took his father, and how he feels now that he's away from his whole family. And in this scene, Artin explains what he wishes to do, and he just wishes to eat food with his parents on the dinner table, to take his little brother to kindergarten, to go to school, to study, to work. And I think this scene, what he says he wants is it's very unscary things. It's not something people should be scared of. So I think it's a good scene to understand that.
Yeah, I personally found Artin and Jahan extremely inspiring, and when I was watching it, I felt that they really helped carry the message of the documentary on the screen. But off the screen, could you tell us about any artistic or cinematic choices you made to bring the reality of the painter's room to life? So, how did you use visual and auditory elements to create an atmosphere that conveys the complex emotions and stories within the facility?
Yeah, so one choice was to film mostly inside. That was also because of the restrictions, but it became an artistic choice, so that many things happen around the painter's room, this room, and also that we focus on the painter as this man who listens a lot and who has a lot of patience, and on one of the persons who goes there. There were many people. Jahan has many friends, but we chose Artin because we felt that as a character, he had a charisma that was good for the camera compared to other people that maybe had very interesting stories but didn't have this attraction to the camera that I think Artin has. So that was a choice of characters that we did, thinking more in cinema terms. And then in terms of sound, I tried to re recreate what I heard when I was there. So we recorded some sound as wild tracks. So it's not all the time the sound that you hear what's happening in that specific moment. I mean more the background sound, but how the center sounded. That there was this mix in between silence and a lot of noise of different languages and things happening and the birds, and yeah, it had a specific sound that I reused later on. So nothing it's from libraries, and everything it's from wild tracks that we did in the center.
Wow, that's really interesting to know. Um, and this was all with the purpose of how can we best engage with the viewers. Who do you see as your primary audience for the Painter's Room? And how did this influence how you approach the storytelling and the presentation?
I think the primary audience is young people in Denmark. Hopefully, if we can make it uh, 18 years old people that are still going to high school and who goes to watch films, or that their teachers makes a program with this or in a library. That's the main audience I wish for. And that thought influenced a lot the film because as I mentioned previously, I wanted it to be a bit friendly and kind. So I didn't want it to be sensationalistic. I didn't want it to be too tough. It would have been very easy to make a very sad film because it's a sad place. But I chose characters with a lot of light, with a lot of hope. And that was because I was thinking about that audience. And I thought that if I want a regular high school of Denmark to show this short film, it has to be a little bit light and it has to be not very pointing fingers towards who is guilty in this story or who are the bad ones, who are the good ones. And I thought a lot about that while making it.
Thank you so much, Maria, for your time and your insights. And I watched the documentary. I thought it was amazing, and I would recommend it to all our viewers to go and watch it when they can. So when can our audience watch your brilliant documentary, and also how can they support it?
So the documentary has just been released in Malaga Film Festival in Spain. That was the premiere, and we have just started distribution in film festivals. So go tell your friends who are film programmers to choose the film so you can watch it in your city, and that's a great way of supporting it. I hope after the festival distribution it can go to a platform, so keep in touch with the film company called Boogaloo Films, who will give more information about it and ask for your libraries, your schools, your film festivals around you to show the film, to start a conversation and engage in this debate.
Thank you very much, Maria.
Thank you very much for having me.
چه گوچایل Kærshovedgård
2017
دیگه 5 سال نکنی
5 خورده